Mungo.
My arm span doesn't even.
Isn't that wild?
I can't even reach both sides of it. Now I'm not touching this side though. That's insane. I don't know where I'm at right now. We're editing the final draft of the documentary to premiere tonight. We're trying to get to the final version of the documentary. Is that good enough?
That's good.
Honorary employee of CD. No. I'm gonna cry watching myself cry. No.
For the top over there.
Could you wait?
Hold this side because I'm gonna pull that way.
What was bad is he asked me like what size TV I had, and I was like 55, and he's like, "We're going bigger than that." And I was like, "Geez." I was like, "That was your reference point? I thought that's what you wanted."
We almost got to 85. Seats down.
Just stand next to it for reference. You look tiny next to it. Your wingspan is lesser than a TV. So,
10, I think.
hello.
That's 9. Somebody can sit here.
Can you do the pose again?
Got the goods.
Hi, I finally get to meet you. It's nice to actually like meet you though.
What's up, dog?
Hi.
How we look?
How you looking?
There they are. Come on.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
That's good.
Me too. Yeah.
Come on. Talk to me.
The worst for me was calling my dad after the time I got cut. Truly one of the maybe a handful of times when I was young, I cried in front of Pops. But that day after I called, he was the only guy I wanted to speak to, and I felt like I had to own up to it. And so I sat out there on the lawn, and that's kind of in my mind will always be the magic in the story. I sat in that lawn, you know how it like angles down, it kind of like looks towards the MIC. I probably sat there for 2 hours, just on the phone with Pops, just distraught, dude. But like, you know, the MIC became the place that meant the most to me.
¿Cuál es su trabajo dentro de Zeta Beans?
Bien.
6 months after that, so I'd just been cut for the baseball team. 6 months after that, Mercer has this opportunity to go on a Mercer on Mission trip where I was able to get course credit for economics and Spanish. And I'm a realist, like I'm being real. I wanted to go on that trip because I needed the course credits. I could graduate after 3 years. You know, like I'm not looking in the future thing. I'm going to build this thing. Like I legitimately just wanted the course credit. To get into that trip, I had to go to Dr. Mengolini. I had to go and do an interview with her in Spanish to make sure my Spanish was good enough to even go on the trip in the first place. So, you know, like I always do, prepared for it. I thought about what are 5 questions she's likely going to ask, because at this time my Spanish was not very good at all. So in my head I have 5 questions memorized, exactly what I'm going to say, and sure enough, she asked question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in sequence. And she's, wow, your Spanish is incredible. Like, I'd love to have you on the trip. So about 2 months later, I'm there in Ecuador. We have our first Spanish class. We're sitting there, and not kidding you, Dr. Mengolini is like, your Spanish is terrible.
Y vino, recuerdo hasta ese nombre, la profesora Mengolini. Y Shane no me desamparaba y me pedía que le corrija el español cuando pronunciaba mal.
While we were on the trip, I was fortunate enough to be the only Spanish and economics double major. And so when we would go with our economics group, which our goal was to see if coffee was a viable alternative to gold mining, I would be the one that would do a lot of the translating. And namely, we had a tour guide. At that time, he was 65 years old, named Arturo. And Arturo would take us to all the different coffee farms, all throughout El Oro. So that's like the southern region of Ecuador. Zaruma, Piñas, Huixoina, these different towns where we now have coffee farmers. So 7 years ago, we were dropped off right up top there, right where we entered. I was with the commercial mission team with Arturo. And it was real wet, so the bus that we were in, we couldn't drive down here. So we walked this entire distance. And we ended up at a small farm owned by a man named Alfredo Ochoa. And so I stayed in touch with Alfredo after that trip, and Alfredo ended up becoming the very first coffee farmer that we ever bought coffee from. 65 pounds of coffee arrived in the U.S. in January of 2017. This is the roaster we use. We can roast 7.5 pounds at a time. It's important just to make sure all the roasts are as consistent as possible. So we just use a good old Mr. Coffee and have him brew up some coffee to make sure everything's consistent.
Recibí la orden y envió un vehículo a trasladarme del vivero al municipio para hacerme conocer que habían llegado una misión de estudiantes, un grupo de estudiantes de la Universidad de Mercer, y entre ellos estaba Shane Brunner, que desde esa fecha se pegó.
We did this, we collected our data, we had this survey that we were administering, and on the very last day of collecting this data, we had concluded as a group and rationally that coffee was not a viable alternative in this little region because we had only seen maybe 5,000 pounds of coffee, in this, to all the different coffee farmers where we went, which, rationally absolutely was not, we could not conclude that we were going to create a new industry with 5,000 pounds of coffee. It wouldn't have happened. But when I returned to the States, Arturo and I would talk on the phone regularly, and it just started as a way to improve, a Spanish. It wasn't much more than that.
Por practicar, por prepararse para un examen final de español.
So Arturo kept coming back. What do you think about coffee? What do you think about coffee? And so, one night we just sat down and talked about it. And I asked Arturo, as a group, we only saw 5,000 pounds. How do you expect us to grow this business if there's only 5,000 pounds to start with? It takes 2 years to yield production, crop. I do not have money to put in this to fund additional farms. He said, well, that's the issue. You're thinking too small. Why would we just import from Zaruma, Piñas, El Oro, when we could import from all over the entire country? So rationally, I asked him, hey, well, how do you do that? And he says, that's what I have to figure out. Arturo and I just, start working on trying to make connections. Namely, I had a little bit of money saved up, and it only cost $5 for a bus to send Arturo 3 hours. So I would send him to different coffee conferences, and we started kind of building this pool of farmers. And then at that time, we worked on the first import.
How many houses would you say have intersystem mines? Is it pretty common or no?
In
Zaruma.
more than the 50%,
No way.
yeah.
Wow.
The illegal mining pay the owners and they live no business is over here.
Yeah.
Y allí me dijo, Arturo, yo voy a crear para el próximo año una compañía para llevar café a los Estados Unidos. Y lo cumplió. Al siguiente año, en el 2017, llegó con otro grupo de estudiantes de la Universidad de Mercer y ya me dijo, Arturo, tengo la compañía Zeta Beans Coffee para llevar café a los Estados Unidos.
I brought in 65 pounds, roasted, had it roasted, gave it away, and people really liked it. Brought in 300 pounds, which taught me a lot about the import-export concept. And then when I brought in 4,000 pounds, I thought I had reached some scale to it. Like 4,000 pounds, is that's a significant amount of coffee for someone just starting out. We started wholesale, door knocking, trying to sell roasted coffee.
The 4,000 pounds came in. That's kind of when I started just helping out between classes. Come down, I helped unload the container. You'd do it in the popcorn popper. You'd cool it with a little tabletop fan out in the back. We'd make 6 bags, drive to a business plaza. You go left, I go right with a bunch of flyers. Wouldn't come back until all the bags were given away.
It had been the summer of before my freshman year of school at Mercer, and we met at the gym playing pickup basketball. And one thing led to another. Asked him kind of what, now that he was a senior, like what was he doing and what was he gearing up for after college. And he mentioned that he, just started a coffee company called Z Beans Coffee and just got the first import of coffee in, and wanted to know if I had time and interested in helping him sell some coffee.
When I met Ben, he was a freshman. He had the demeanor, he was a complimentary personality, and I think that was the thing about Carter and Ben where I knew that, man, I really want them to work with me for a long time, because the three of us are very, very different. I mean, it certainly is brought along difficult conversations.
The World Health Organization took a giant step today in declaring coronavirus a pandemic.
We have made the difficult decision for all of our teammates to stay out of the shops during this difficult time. But the reason that I wanted those men in the first place is because I knew a difficult conversation could be had, and we work as a team and still see each other as brothers and be willing to work together.
It's really just Shane, Ben, myself, maybe a buddy or two that would pass by. It was really just 3 of us just kind of logging it down there. And starting senior year, as we kept working more and more, kind of feeling it, kind of planning out the shops, Shane became very persistent on me sticking around. I was very indecisive about what I wanted to do. I want to go, travel overseas, move back home. Now I had a lot of stuff lined up back home, go work down south, a bunch of different stuff. Shane was very persistent.
I begged him to work with me after he graduated, because we go back home to Orlando, and I legitimately begged him.
I'd walk in every morning and say, "Good morning, you ready to join yet?" He said, "Nah, yeah, I'm thinking about it." I said, all right, won't ask again. And the next day, "Hey, good to see you." So you decide to stay just every day for the entire spring semester.
So it was the day before graduation, I do believe. I pitched to his mother in the Mercer Innovation Center. I made a slide deck of why she should give her stamp of approval for Carter to work with Z Beans full time. No kidding.
Shane and I put together like full 30 slide pitch deck to pitch my mother to allow me to work with Z Beans. And it was kind of like the one thing where it's like, hey, I have no idea what's gonna happen tomorrow, but we promise you that this is something legit. Like, it's not just a project and I'll be back home in 6 months, like it's something real. And so of course I would talk to her throughout the whole time, kind of this is what I'm doing. But kind of like that presentation, I think we got this like slide 5. She goes, "I don't need to see this. So just tell me, do you want to do it or not?" "Yeah, it's what I want to do." I said, "All right, go do it, have fun." There's a way of life down there that people in the States probably have no idea about, but that's all everyone down there knows. So as you're driving down, as you leave the airport, you pass all the sugarcane fields, past all the tents on the side, and that's just how people live. And kind of from that point on, it really reinforced the mission that, hey, this is a lot bigger than just selling a cup of coffee and trying to make it sound nice. There's a lot more behind it. They're actually there. It's not just a name or a figure.
Going to Ecuador, I don't speak any Spanish, so meeting the farmers for the first time was very stressful. I couldn't tell you anything that they said to me, but they were extremely nice and welcoming, and they treated everybody like family. It didn't matter that I didn't speak Spanish. They just spoke to me and we had full conversations, and it was really a remarkable thing. I was very excited to learn what the culture of Ecuador really was and to see where the coffee comes from. Ecuador is a beautiful country, and it's obviously a lot different than the States. It's the first time that I was ever out of the country. I had to get a passport before we went. But yeah, putting a personality to the faces that you look at every day, it's a little nerve-wracking because you don't know what to expect, and you don't know if it's going to change the idea that you had in your head of who these farmers were. And I mean, if anything, it just built them up more. I have more respect for the faces behind the coffee than I ever did going to Ecuador.
Del 2016, Shen me prometió que regresaría, sino para hospedarse en el departamento donde yo vivía. Y así ha sido sucesivamente todas las veces que ha llegado. Llega a donde yo vivo, consume mucha carne, consume muchas frutas y no come queso. No toma leche de Ecuador porque tiene un estómago muy
I see these individuals every single day, and to finally stand face to face with them and be able to shake their hand, tell them how much I appreciated them, was a really cool experience. Getting into their world and letting them just speak their mind and show how passionate they are about the farming aspect of it and coffee farming, and them to truly explain the front end process of it. And of course, something I've studied and read upon for the past 2 years, to finally get my hands on it and see it firsthand was so cool. There's definitely a lot more to how you get your caramel macchiato than the average eye would see. And one that I quickly found out, especially being thrown into the roasting world, I never knew there was so much to know about coffee from the standpoint of literally from the day that seed is planted in the soil in Ecuador to when it gets to one of our customers and enjoying that drink.
Que se puso más énfasis en comprar café de buena calidad para llevar a los Estados Unidos. Se recorrían las diferentes fincas del país para poder detectar los cultivos y las formas de proceso post cosecha de los cafés.
Todos los cafés que tenemos aquí son cafés especiales. Arrojan un puntaje en taza por encima de los 88 puntos. Nos arrojan perfiles de arándanos negros, hierba luisa, mandarina. Tenemos todo el entorno que es un sembrío de árboles frutales tropicales, y también tenemos el entorno que es tipo oriental, donde se da mucho la guayusa, una planta exótica del oriente, lo que le da un perfil muy exuberante a nuestro café.
El proceso del café miel se lo realiza cosechando el café maduro, luego se lo lleva a casa, se lo selecciona, se quita los granos verdes, granos dañados, granos secos, todo lo malo, que se quede solamente el café maduro. Ya, una vez eso se lo deja en agua. Se coge durante el día, se queda la noche en agua ya escogido, entonces al otro día por la mañana, como ya inicia el sol, entonces se lo despulpa, se lo pasa por la máquina despulpadora y se lo lleva a la marquesina. Ahí se comienza el proceso de secado, se lo mueve periódicamente, cada hora, 2 horas lo mucho, para que vaya soltándose un poco y no se quede un solo grupo, voy a decir, que se pueda soltar y así poder luego y se vaya secando normalito y poder llevar a hacer el proceso siguiente, que es la pilada ya.
El café, para sacarlo aquí como le vendemos en Café Miel, siempre cosechamos siempre el grano maduro, porque así nos han enseñado y creo que es la mejor manera.
Es una finca de alrededor de 15 a 16 hectáreas, de las cuales unas 11 hectáreas, 2 hectáreas son café. Dentro del café tenemos alrededor de unas 5 variedades en la especie arábigo, y tenemos 5 variedades donde sobresale la variedad Salchimor 1669.
These farmers will, crossbreed these plants to make them more resistant to coffee diseases or common coffee diseases in the area, and how much true thought process, and even to when they take it off the coffee plant to how they process it down, how much that alters the flavor of your coffee.
A ver, aquí vamos a indicarles un poco lo que consiste en nuestros procesos de fermentación. Aquí está fermentándose nuestro café. Como ven, ya suena, ¿sí? Al lavarlo, queda todo limpio y lo procedemos a escoger todos los granos que han salido con defectos, quedando un café de excelente calidad para proceder a su exportación.
Personally, I never, as a non-coffee drinker, all the way up until I'd say probably my late sophomore year of college, one that I never would have thought there was that much behind it. I just thought it was some dirty bean water that you put some milk and flavoring in and make it taste a little bit better.
I mean, up to that point in my life, my father, still to this day, does not drink coffee. My mother only drinks coffee because it's what her son's business is. So she, like any, wonderful mother, she supports the business. But we didn't have coffee in the house growing up. We didn't have a Keurig machine. My first time ever making a Mr. Coffee was literally in Ecuador with the Mercer on Mission group. They asked me to make it because they knew I was, doing this project with Arturo. And this is year 2 when I first figured out how to use a Mr. Coffee. Not the first year of going.
When I first joined Z-Beans, I never drank a cup of coffee in my life because I didn't have any palate for coffee.
So I don't drink coffee black, so I can't really taste the difference.
Intern for Z-Beans, I tried to make an effort to start liking coffee. I felt like if I was working for this business, I needed to know what I was promoting. So I would get a mocha whenever I would go in to one of the shops, and that was the only thing that I would drink. And then when I took over as CMO and I was really having to start post the pictures of the drinks, I would just walk into a shop and tell the barista to make something that sounded good and looked pretty. And I would take a picture of it and promote it for exactly what it was. And then I would be the one to have to drink it.
You sounds terrible.
There was so much going on behind the scenes, so much forethought, thinking ahead. I mean, obviously you accept that being a company, but there's a difference knowing from, okay, like sure they have meetings, they have like a 1-year plan, they have this stuff on the horizon, to actually being in the meeting at the table. This is our 1-year plan, this is our 3-year plan, and this is our 10-year plan. This is where we want to be, and going, oh crap, we got work to do. Now that I've met Shane, I know what it looks like when someone eats, sleeps, and breathes their job or their passion or whatever, because that man eats, sleeps, and breathes Z-Beans.
What really wakes me up every morning and what makes me want to continue to do this for a long time is the knowledge of what's going on internationally.
Para llegar a obtener una agradable taza de café, tienen que transcurrir una serie de actividades de muchísimo esfuerzo del productor y de toda su familia.
Those few moments that I get each year when the coffee is loaded up in Ecuador and arrives in the States will always be a surreal moment. It's always my favorite time of the year is when the coffee will come in. And I've always measured, kind of like our success and how much coffee we're able to import, just because the more I learn about it, the more I understand the complexities of what is actually going on in Ecuador for that to happen.
A couple of years ago, I had to move fairly suddenly, and I was incredibly stressed out about it. I hate moving with a passion. And I was sitting at my desk, and my desk is next to Shane's. And after everybody left the room, Shane asked me if I was okay, because he always knows when I'm not. And I told him no. I told him why I was stressed out. And I told him that I needed to be out of my apartment in a week. And he said, well, we'll get everybody down here tomorrow morning, and everything that you have packed, we'll move it for you. And he sent me home early. I packed up everything that I could that night. And the next morning at 6 a.m., I had 6 people that just, other people might have just thought they're my coworkers, but 6 people that I work alongside that I consider friends and family show up at my apartment to move all of my stuff for me without being asked. To realize that you have people outside of your actual family that'll stand up for you and do anything that you need them to help you out and be there for you. That was a very big moment for me.
Rodeo on the weekends, and I took a horn to the mouth and had to go to the hospital, and eventually had to get brought back down and to Macon and do some medical dental work, and Shane and Carter came and picked up my truck from my rodeo and brought it back down. They obviously didn't have to do that, and I could have gotten away back up there to get my truck, but they took it upon themselves that kind of help me out in that situation. So for me, that's the moment that sticks out to me, that like no other coworker at my 9-to-5 job probably would have done that for me, much less my brothers.
I proposed to my wife last year, and it would not be possible without everyone that was on the team. From Shane to Max to Mary Catherine to Ben, all of them really played a pivotal part in it. Whether they meant to or not, they played a pivotal part.
Those are the moments I think of the most, literally sitting behind a steering wheel at 2 a.m., talking to the guy next to me that happens to work with me, who's also my very good friend, and just getting into a deep conversation, or, if it's opening our new warehouse and it's 9 p.m. at night or 10 p.m. at night, and we know we have to get it open by the next day, and we're just mopping the floor in there, the conversations that we dive into that are outside of work.
But there have been little instances where, I'm at Waffle House eating with my pops, and Mary Catherine calls, very upset, needs someone to speak to, and she chooses me. That means a lot to me. Once, if you truly talk about me taking a step back and thinking, it makes me feel good, knowing that I've done right by her. I would say those little instances where those interpersonal moments happen with those that I'm most closest to in the business are truly the few times where I'll take a step back and it'll kind of hit me wow, that's pretty special. I'm glad that we've been able to build that.
I get to come to work today with 5 of my best friends that I've made throughout my Z-Beans experience, but also college experience as well. At Z-Beans, it's come to work, it's family. We also do stuff outside of work together. And then heck, I live with Max, so it's just you come here and it's family. And yeah, it may get rough sometimes, and we may with family, but in the day we know we got each other's backs and best interests at heart.
he calls and tells me that he's like, Dad, I'm going to get cut off the team. And he says, I'm just going to quit. And I'm like, no, you're not. I felt like he should make him look you in the face and say, we don't have a position for you on this team. Thank him for at least letting you try, or being part of the team. Don't leave the team mad or whatever. Because I said it takes a bigger man to walk away proud than to walk away mad. Arturo had reached out to Shane, and I would hear Shane talking to Arturo, obviously in Spanish. Obviously, like any dad, I have to ask. I'm like, so what's all the talk about? And he's like, Arturo wants me to sell coffee. And I'm like, Shane, does that many people drink coffee? And he's like, Dad, you're one of the few that does.
Z-Beans is one of 3 businesses to win a fellowship with Z-Beans is open for business.
It started out to where they brought in like 50 pounds or 60 pounds. Then it went to 400 pounds, 4,000 pounds, and then it kept getting bigger and bigger. It was really a blessing. People a lot of times would ask, like, I bet you're so proud. And my thing is I'm just proud of the hard work.
Las palabras o los ofrecimientos que hizo Shane se cumplieron, y esas promesas que hizo a partir del 2017 creando la compañía Z-Beans Coffee, se han ido implementando muchas políticas de compra de cafés de buena calidad para brindar a los consumidores lo mejor de los cafés de Ecuador. Yo, haber servido para Z-Beans, sí siento orgulloso. A mi edad, tengo el gusto de haber sido uno de los partícipes de Z-Beans.
This is why we do what we do, and supporting the farmers above and beyond what just the minimum payment is for their products, and they do a lot of hard work.
Sinceramente, estamos muy agradecidos por el apoyo, y espero que podamos servirle en el futuro. Podemos continuar trabajando juntos para mejorar el café y la vida de los caficultores. Así podemos mejorar la vida de los caficultores dentro del Ecuador.
Thanks for all the translation help. Good job. I was told that you helped a lot with the translation.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Good work, C squared.
Yeah, that's great.
MK.
Eric Allen helped out a bunch too, so.
Rock well done there.
That's right. Rock complete.
Gotta get started on the next one.
It's really interesting to see all like the years ago. Oh my God, their faces. What is this?
I've got the file. I'll probably just throw it in the Google Drive or something. You can download it.
For sure.
Have it on your phone, laptop, something like that.
Cool.
So we won't leave it just on YouTube.
That was real cool.
That's good. How'd you put Premiere at the bottom right?
This is how did I put Premiere?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Posted as a premiere on YouTube.
Oh really?
I know. I'm telling you. Yeah, we set it as a premiere at 7:30, so we uploaded that.
Dang, there's people watching right now?
Yeah.
Dang.
There's a few people watching right now. Probably put it on Facebook and a bunch of other things.
That's cool. That's cool. Good job.
I realize y'all just said the same thing. Yeah. We did go on.
We said the film we left together, unfortunately.
That was the icing on the cake.
Yeah, that's great.
You should take my heart like that every day.